Hello everyone, my name is Priscilla Bell. I am a two-time award-winning actress, a elementary school counselor, and a tarot reader. Welcome to Let's Talk, a channel I've created to talk about anything and everything. Today, I want to bring you guys into my life, and I want to bring awareness to those of you who are struggling with anemia. I have been going through this for 4 years, going on 5. I have always been a very reserved person. I never like to share anything, but I've came after these 5 years, I've come to the realization that it's so important for people to put themselves out there and share what they're going through, because in doing so, we might be helping another life. And that to me is huge. Considering I am a humanitarian, I work with children, I'm an actress, and I humbly say not just any actress, but a two-time award-winning actress. I've been in several films. I'm also an inventor, and I have a tarot channel. It's called Mermaid Love Tarot. The link is in the description box, so you guys can visit that channel if you are interested in tarot. I have had that gift for many years, since I was 9 years old. I can predict the cards and the cards come out. I have over 1,000 videos to show the evidence, right? Because people are about evidence, and there it is. I lost my nephew in June, and I predicted everything that would happen. On the 10th of June, I posted something. Actually, it was June 9th. I posted something, and my nephew was struck and hit by a horrible person, and he lost his life on June 10th. I was also going through a divorce because I was the victim of a scammer who I met in Jamaica. So I want to bring awareness about that as well. I will do so in other videos, as this channel is all about talking, right? That's why I titled it Let's Talk. I'm also going to make this, I'm going to post it with Spanish letters, with Spanish descriptions, so that anyone who is interested in watching it in Spanish can use the subtitles, okay? So I want to begin my very trying story. And I am remaining hopeful, faithful. I am a prayer warrior, and that everything is going to be okay. But I thought it was so important to share this with you, particularly because if you are in the beginning stages, you may not know what this is all about. I, of course, have wonderful doctors. And so nonetheless, I'm still battling. And I would like to say that it's getting better, but it actually isn't. And so I am praying that I can go back to taking my iron pills and be okay in that process. So my story begins in October of 2021. I was in my house, cleaning, organizing, fixing my closet. It was the beginning of, the summer was about to end, and or had already ended. And I decided, you know what, I'll fix my closet during the winter. I started fixing my closet. I have a walk-in closet. I started fixing it. I've always been somebody who's always been active. I never stop. As you can see, I am all these titles. I don't know if I mentioned, but I'm also an inventor. And so in my house, I'm creating content, I'm fixing my house, I'm organizing. I'm one of those people who is very, what is the word? The word, very, like a neat freak. I like everything in order. And so I'm constantly changing my curtains, doing all kinds of things around my house. I like to change my house around at least once a month. So I was fixing my closet, completely taking everything out of the closet to, put in the stands where you put the clothes. And so I began to feel really, really tired. And I was like, we know our bodies. We know what we can take, and we know what we cannot take. And I knew that I can take a lot. I've always been able to take a lot. I was 45 at the time. I'm about to be 50 in July. I know nobody believes me, but yes. And so I began to feel so tired. I was like, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? I began to feel lightheaded. I finished my class that I pushed myself. I was literally like dragging, but I pushed myself. I finished it. I went to sleep. And when I woke up, I felt like I was so stiff and all I can do is move my eyes. I felt like a truck just ran over me. I couldn't move for anything. So I felt so scared. I didn't want to go to, I was going back and forth as to whether or not I should go to work. But that morning I had a Zoom meeting, a very important all-day meeting. I also had to see my students. And so I thought to myself, I have to go. I got up, but I was almost like I wasn't myself. I literally thought I was just gonna die because my chest just felt like something was pressing on my chest. And I was like gasping for air. I get up, I take a shower, I get to work. I see some of my sessions with my kids. I see my kids. I joined the Zoom meeting and all of a sudden I started to feel like, oh my God, I really cannot breathe. Like my back was like pressed and I was gasping for air. The more I wanted to breathe, the more I couldn't breathe, right? Because I was really overworking myself. So I was like, this is serious. This is, I really can't take it. I'm not one to boo-hoo about anything. I'm very strong. I can go through and through, but I was like, no, this just does not feel normal. It just doesn't for me. So I called my classroom next door and I asked one of the teachers to come over. And I told the teacher that I couldn't breathe. She started massaging my back, right? Really nicely massaging my back. And she's like, is it getting better? I was like, no. My work hours are from 8 to 3. I remained sitting in front of that computer until literally almost 3 o'clock. I started to tell the teacher, I really can't do it. I really do not feel well. Please call the main office, tell the secretaries to call the ambulance. After that, one of the other teachers who was also next door came over. They said that I was getting pale, very, very pale. I started to see like patches like everywhere. And I was like, oh my God, am I losing my eyesight? And my mouth started to get very, very dry, which is something that I've been struggling with ever since I was diagnosed with GERDs, okay? Which has caused me to end up having this severe anemia. So they ended up calling the ambulance. The assistant principal came over. The ambulance got there. They asked me if I could breathe. I said, no, I absolutely cannot. So they started to check my heart. They told me your heart is beating faster than normal. They took me down the stairs. I was on the 3rd floor. They had to take me all the way down, actually 6 flights, because it's like those double flights, like you go around one, then you have to go around another one before you actually get to that floor. So it was about 6 flights of stairs. And they still had to bring me to the front of the school. Now, I am currently in New York. In New York, they take you to the closest hospital. One second. In New York, they take you to the closest hospital. I didn't want to go to the closest hospital because it doesn't have a good reputation. So I instructed the ambulance team to take me to the hospital where I wanted to go. I couldn't even make it to the hospital. They had to stabilize me in front of the school for about an hour and a half. They began to tie all the little cables to check my heart. They continued to say that my heart was speeding. And they were like, do you suffer from anything? And I said, no, not that I know of. I've never had a problem. I'm very active. I explained everything that I just explained to you guys, that I was fixing my closet. And all of a sudden this morning, I just felt like a whole truck ran over me. Like literally, I could not move. It was so scary. Going down the stairs, looking down the stairs in my house, I couldn't do it. Finally, they stabilize me. They take me to the hospital. When they take me to the hospital, I'm still telling them I need oxygen. I really cannot breathe. And it's almost like, not that they weren't listening, but it was almost like, how can this be? Because I seemed fine, but I just could not breathe. I kept like gasping. It's almost like when you take a little fish out of water, literally. Like I thought I was going to convulsions. So I sat down and I told them, they brought in the oxygen. They took me up to a room really, really quick. And they had me under observation. At this point, they had given me oxygen. And the doctor came over. The doctor said, we're going to have to admit you. They did a CAT scan, which they also have found that I had a little nodule on my breast. But that ended up being okay. Nonetheless, very scary. And so they took me up to the room. They said, we're going to have to admit you. When the doctor comes in, he goes, Priscilla, your levels of blood are extremely high, low. You are at a 4. Normally, you're supposed to be between a 12 and a 14. Okay, 2 weeks ago, I was at a 10. Last week, I had to undergo now an IV, which they put an IV to my veins, and then I had to get iron. And then this past Saturday, I was there again. So I had to go twice. And the reason why is because they had told me to, they put me on iron pills to take every day once a day. I then started to take them too. Everything was working fine. I'm to the point where I have to take it every other day because my gastroenterologist is telling me that it's best, the body absorbs it best when you skip a dose. And they instructed me to only take it once along with folic acid because my hematologist who's treating me now for my blood levels told me that I needed to take it, every other day as well. And so the doctor comes in, he tells me that I'm at a 4, that I could have died, and that my heart is the reason why my heart was beating very, very quick. So, no, actually, that day, they let me back home. They gave me oxygen, and they said, I don't know what it was that they checked, but they released me. And so the next day I wake up and, sometimes a lot of the things are mental. So at that moment I'm thinking, I can breathe. So they pretty much were able to stabilize me with oxygen. I believe they might have given me an IV. So the next day I wake up, I call my friend and I'm like, Yolanda, I cannot go to work. I can't breathe. I thought that I was going to be doing a little better, but I cannot breathe. I was like, I'm going to drive myself to you, try my best to drive myself to you, and then you take over and drive because I literally thought that I was going to pass out. When I get there, I tell them I was here yesterday. They were able to stabilize me, but they sent me home. And so that's when they gave me more oxygen. They took me up to a room and they were like, we need to admit you because this is serious. And at that point, it was when they told me that I was at a 4. So I have heard in the past about blood transfusions, and it was a little scary, you guys. If you are going through this process, this is why I'm here, and I need to let you know. It is not as bad as people say. That blood by now is completely out of my body, that blood transfusion, but they had to find, of course, my blood type. I was admitted into the hospital for about 4 days. So the doctor said to me, it's either you do the blood transfusion or we're going to lose you. And because of, that mindset that something could go wrong with these blood transfusions, I was like, I really don't know what to do. And I remember him coming so close to me and me literally just like crying. I'm so sorry, you guys. Crying because he was like, Cynthia, do you trust me? Because my name is Cynthia Priscilla. And I said, yes. And he goes, then you need to do this blood transfusion. I said, okay. Like at that point, I had no choice. They admitted me for 4 days and I did the blood transfusion. That pretty much stabilized me. But the issue with my stomach, which I was diagnosed with GERDs, continues. So my stomach, it turns out, whenever I am stressed, which I will feel like every time I felt stressed, I feel like acid would just build up in my stomach. I couldn't sleep. Anything that I ate, beginning in 2021, for an entire year, I was throwing up. I lost so much weight. I was never like a heavy set person, but right now I'm a size 4'6". Probably in the camera you can tell, but everything that I ate, I was throwing up for an entire year. Prior to me being admitted to the hospital, well, they told me that my blood levels was at 4, which is the reason why I was feeling so tired and I couldn't breathe. So I battled through those 3 years moving forward, not being able to eat, not being able to, if I had one meal, that was too much and that would just come right up. I couldn't sleep because I would need to sleep sitting up. I would feel like the food would come right back up. It's almost like I was going to vomit it, but it wouldn't come out. Like I would have to like hang over the toilet or hang over a bag and literally just start throwing up to help myself feel better. It was almost like if somebody who was bulimic, but I had no choice. I wasn't trying to be bulimic. I was trying to, help the situation better. I remember going to Puerto Rico because I wanted to take my niece and not being able to enjoy the food because everything that I ate will come back up. So finally, at that time, I was seeing a different doctor. I'm going to make another video to tell you guys what the whole process with endoscopies, colonoscopy, capsule endoscopy, as well as me having an IV in my veins to give me the iron these past 2 weeks. So please don't freak out. You won't feel a thing. I can tell you that much for now, but I'm going to create an episode 2 of the whole process and what that entailed and the preparation leading to the procedures, okay? So I was throwing up. I went for my first endoscopy. Of course, I was very scared. I went for my colonoscopy. They didn't find anything when I did the colonoscopy. But they told me that they had seen that I had like a lot of damage to my stomach. They further explained after I saw my second endocrinologist, who is seeing, gastroenterologist, who is seeing me now. And he's been, my doctor ever since. And so, I did my first endoscopy. They told me that. And then I was scared. When I went to see my second doctor, the one who I'm now with, he told me that I was born with a hernia inside my stomach. Was it a hernia? I believe it's a hernia. And they think that every time the hernia shifts, it's making me bleed. Then they had to do a push endoscopy, which they go a bit further into my intestines to be able to check. It's almost like, I forgot what the term is, but it's almost like they solder almost like soldering an artery. So they started that because they thought that I was bleeding from there. Well, this was 2021. It is now 2026, and I have done numerous endoscopies, constantly to check if the pantoprazole, which they put me on to eliminate acid, which I have to take one before every meal, will help release the acid. It has gotten a little bit better, but it's been taking a long time. So I cut sugars. I used to go to Starbucks all the time to get a green tea, frappuccino, matcha. And it used to be a venti with whipped cream and all these raspberry syrups. And I literally had to quit cold turkey. I think that, this is something that I never thought I would quit because I would come out of work and go to Starbucks. But it just came to the point that I was just disgusted by it. The fact that my health was being affected, I was disgusted. The doctor then told me I couldn't eat tomatoes, I couldn't eat onions, I couldn't eat oranges, I couldn't eat anything that had lemon, anything that was spicy, because that would trigger acid. He went on to further explain that, because I asked him, I was like, is it because I'm also stressed? Because I was really stressed with work. And he said, yes. A lot of the time when you're stressed, your stomach creates acid. So I had these two things happening. I was losing blood due to the fact that I had this GERD problem, right? If you look up GERD, it's a problem that has to do with your stomach, which creates a lot of acid. And so this is now something that will be in my lifelong. So I cut soda, I cut everything. I now only drink water and coconut water because, those are the things that are really going to help. They told me to drink aloe and coconut water. They do sell it that way, but it's a little bit difficult to find. So I've been getting better in terms of my stomach, but after, I want to say, probably 8 endoscopies, 1 colonoscopy, and now I'm going on my second capsule endoscopy. I'm going to also explain the capsule endoscopy. So right now, my body is not doing well absorbing the iron that I'm taking. I am continuing to take the iron every other day. So don't freak out. Remind your doctors of what I'm telling you. Again, I am not a doctor, but I've been through this process. I'm still going through it. And I just wanted to shed some light to what my story has been like. Just my personal life story. As I said, I've always been reserved, but I just felt like this is something that I needed to share and that it was important for me to share. Because when I was going through that, I couldn't find a way. I was Googling things and reading about it, but nothing compares to somebody actually, putting themselves, as I am sitting here, letting you know what this is all about, okay? And so here I am taking my pantoprazole before every meal. Now I'm taking it twice. I still cannot eat too much. I am stuck to eating one meal. Last night was horrible. I am to the point where I had to fill out an FMLA form because all the absences were beginning to affect my work life. And so my doctor needed to let my boss know that this is something serious and that it's lifelong and that I'm battling and that I'm scared every single day because now I wonder how long, this IV, this iron that they put into my body up until this past Saturday is going to last. So I have another appointment in April to test my blood levels again. But the fact still remains, we don't know where my body is bleeding from. Hence, the next capsule endoscopy. So we're going to do it again because I did it once and they really couldn't see anything. So the doctor wants to try again because sometimes you don't see anything the first time around, but you do the second time around, which is how I believe they were able to see that in my intestines there was an issue. And so they did the push endoscopy. So I'm going to create a second video just to explain the process of what that entails. Don't panic. As long as you are in good hands with your doctor, you are good to go. Okay. But if you ever feel that you have any shortness of breath, you feel like a truck ran over you, because you don't necessarily have to have GERD. You don't necessarily have to go through the acid reflux that I am going through. Okay. In addition to me taking the pills that I'm taking before every meal, I sometimes still have to take Pepsid to help me after the meal and before I go to bed. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, unable to sleep because I just feel the food right here. And I feel like a sour taste because it's that taste of, puke, and it's disgusting. I'm sorry, you guys, I don't mean to gross you out, but I need to keep it 100% real with you. And so, that might not be your story. It may just be that you are battling with anemia. But nonetheless, just know that if you feel like a truck ran over you, go to the emergency room. If you feel like you are not breathing, go to the emergency room. If you feel like you are lightheaded, you have to go see somebody, okay? Forget about work, forget about anything, because your health comes first. If this is something that you prolong, it's just only gonna get worse. I could have probably been in a better situation had I not waited a year of throwing up because I was afraid of what the doctor might tell me, okay? It was complete ignorance to me until I found out, and I was like beating myself up because I was like, had I gone sooner, I would have been a little better, okay? But if you know that you're a person that can take a lot, that you're here, there, and everywhere, and all of a sudden you either cannot breathe, you feel lightheaded, or you feel extremely tired, like lethargic, you have to get help. And in terms of the blood transfusion, please do not panic with that either, okay? It does help. There's one like in a huge number that you can catch an infection, but the numbers are huge. So, it's very unlikely that something like that can happen, okay? Feel free to ask me any questions in the comments. I leave my email there as well. Don't forget to join my other channel, Mermaid Love Tarot, if you're interested in tarot. I do readings in both English and Spanish. If you have someone that can benefit from this video, from me sharing my story, please, and they speak Spanish, ask them to come over to watch the English video with the subtitles. I'm sitting right here in my studio where I normally record my tarot readings. Guys, thank you so much for being with me today. I wish you nothing but the best. I will be back to share many stories. This is a Let's Talk channel, so I'm going to be sharing a lot with regards to how to deal with your children, behavior, my story of being scammed with us through marrying a person from Jamaica who turned out to be a scammer, who almost took my life. I am going to share videos of him speaking lies. I am currently dealing with the FBI and immigration because he used me for the green card. And so I'm going to be sharing that story as well. Okay. And these things don't happen in Jamaica only to women. It happens to both women and men. All right, you guys. But this is my story of my battle with anemia. I will be back to walk you through the whole process of an endoscopy, colonoscopy, and a capsule endoscopy. Thank you so much, you guys. Be well. You're in my prayers. Please let me know. Share your story in the comments so that the community can learn, your struggles and your wins, right? Maybe you have overcome this whole situation, and I wish you well moving forward. I am still in my journey, and I'm praying strongly that God will get me through this. I am a prayer warrior, but know that I am not only praying for myself. I love you guys. Thank you so much, and take care. I will see you guys soon. One love.